Hey, how you doing? Matt Martin here with Epic Property Management for another episode of the Epic Adventures in Real Estate. Today we're doing something a little bit different where instead of me talking about kind of my journey, I thought we'd start talking about other people's journeys of success in real estate and how they either dipped their toes into it or began investing in many properties. So we'll have a whole lot of guests, but the first person I have today is Cody. Cody, do you want to introduce yourself?
Sure. I'm Cody, Cody Jardine. I am 24 years old. My W-2 day job, I'm a supply chain manager. I manage over about $1 million worth of inventory, and I have a couple folks that work under me. But my real passion and what led me to meeting Matt was real estate. I'm an aspiring real estate investor. I have a 3-family property that I own, and hopefully that will be the first of many properties to come.
Very cool. So let's talk about what got you interested in real estate and kind of the challenges of acquiring the first property, because that's always the first step is always the scariest thing going through any kind of a change or a process. And it sounds like your day job is very methodical, very efficiency focused, and sometimes being a landlord in real estate investing is not that way at all. And so let's talk about kind of what that path has been like for you and the challenges and the great things that have come from it.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it was extremely overwhelming at the beginning to think, I'm gonna buy a house and there's gonna be other people living in this house, and anything that breaks or needs repairs, I'm gonna have to pay for it, or I'm gonna have to fix it myself. So yeah, I think the cost of entry or getting into the game is extremely stressful for a lot of people. But like anything, I think I relied on, okay, let me go learn about this. Let me educate myself. Let me surround myself with people that have done this, can talk me off a ledge, and kind of know have seen the success side of it, but have also seen the failure side of it. And that's kind of how you and I were introduced.
Yes.
So.
Good old Katie.
Yeah. So it was one of those things. I met Matt through a friend of mine, and the first thing he told me to do was read 3 books and get back to him. And at first I was like, what the heck is this guy telling me to do?
Yeah.
It was absolutely crazy. And then he told me the 3 books. I had already read 2 of them. So only had 1 more to read. And, as I was reading it, I realized that, for me to take his time to sit down and say, hey, I want to be a real estate investor. I want to do this. I needed to show him that I had some sort of, work ethic and I had a passion to try and learn something, and actually put something into it. And I actually remember, I don't think I've ever told you this, but the first time we went to grab coffee, I got there 25 minutes early.
Sure.
I was sitting in my car and I was reading through these books as though you were going to quiz me. Because that's what I was taught. I went to school for chemical biology, and
yep.
I'm thinking this guy's gonna quiz me on all of these books and ask me, who wrote the book and all of these stupid things, and that was definitely not the case.
No, not at all. And the reason I anybody that approaches me to ask me about real estate investing, because in a lot of ways I'm still green. I look at it the same way that the person that taught me about it did. And I do the same exact thing because you quickly filter out who really isn't interested, and who's going to set forth that true effort to become a real estate investor and not just kick the tires and waste your time. So this is the way I was taught. So I do the same exact thing. And it really does filter out a lot. Is reading Rich Dad, Poor Dad by Robert Kiyosaki, the Cash Flow Quadrants by Robert Kiyosaki, and the third one is Multifamily Millions. The 3 of those together are a great foundation to start if anyone's looking to start. And usually I give somebody the homework to read those and then say, when you're done, call me. And Usually, for the most part, I do hear from a lot of people that they're moving along through the process, but most of them don't read all 3 books. And Cody, because you already read 2, called me and told me, yeah, I read the books. I already read 2. I read the other one. I'm good. I was pretty impressed. And that's part of the reason I asked Cody to be here. So before meeting with me to talk to me about the real estate and how I got into it and what you should do, let's talk about a little some of the challenges you faced, maybe internally or externally, because again, that first step is always scary as shit. And what were some of those things that you were getting that were challenges that you had to work through?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think this happens with anything. If you're starting a new business, if you're doing anything outside of the norm, it's always going to be extremely uncomfortable to have people say, this is challenging. You shouldn't be doing this at your age. You don't know you don't know how to fix something, or you don't know how to do this. You're gonna screw yourself. I think for every successful real estate investor, there's also a couple of unsuccessful real estate investors that have gone through it, and they've had terrible tenants, or they've had some sort of process that's put a bad taste in their mouth. And it's like anything. If you kind of listen to those, if you only listen to one side of the story, and you don't find those mentors or those people that have been successful and have actually had the same mistakes as those unsuccessful folks, but have just learned from them, it can be extremely, extremely difficult and unsettling. And I think that the hardest thing that I did was the day that I signed my papers for my house, and I moved in, and I sat there and I was like, what the heck did I just do?
Yeah.
To go off of that, that following weekend, I had the second hardest thing when my second floor tenant called me and told me it was raining in their bedroom.
Oh wow! I haven't heard this.
there was a third floor water heater.
Yeah.
That decided to quit on me on my first weekend being there.
Well, boot camp.
And I had absolutely no idea how to fix a hot water heater. But I knew that I was gonna figure it out. So I got on the phone with a couple people that I knew that had successfully fixed hot water heaters. I went to Home Depot. I bought a hot water heater and I figured it out. I stopped it from raining. Haven't had a problem since. But I've had similar problems like that have come up, and it's just that tenacity, that energy of stuff's gonna come up. You're not gonna know how to fix it at the time. But just having that ability to problem solve, and then on the back end, take that and really think about the efficiencies of, okay, so this was a problem and it's probably going to come up again. How can I make it better? So
that's a great way to look at it. Now let's jump back. You bought the house.
Yeah.
What kind of financing did you use? Because a lot of people, this is what scares them. How do I come up with 25% down? How did you handle that?
Yeah, so I used an FHA loan, and with that I had to, I did take some time, I guess. I lived at home for a couple of years, and I kind of saved up as much money as I could. I think an FHA also requires you to have some work experience, or some sort of schooling, so you can't just jump into it like right after college or as you're graduating high school.
Yeah.
You do have to wait a little bit, but I used that time in between, that I knew I was gonna make this step to really find the right property for me. So I think it's like anything, it's a double-edged sword.
Sure.
You have that time where you're ambitious, you want to make the next step, but you have to take a step back and learn and educate. But yeah, I used that FHA loan. That also requires you to live in the property for about a year. So I've done that. And since then, I've actually recently moved out of the property, and
Nice.
I have it fully rented. But it was nice. Having a fixer upper was great. I knew I was gonna live there for a
Yeah.
year anyways, so I've had about a month where I was walking around with work boots to go from my bedroom to my bathroom and take a shower and put on work boots and walk through. And it's not glamorous to do it that way,
Yeah.
but once it's all said and done and everything's put together, you have a beautiful renovated unit that I did for not a whole lot of money, because I was willing to put in that sweat equity. And so far it's really working out. So
That's great. Now with the FHA, anyone that doesn't know, Google it, but it's only 3.5% down on the property. There are some stipulations like Cody talked about, so it's important that you know what they are, but I would suggest calling an experienced loan officer, and he or she can walk you through what the steps are and what you have to do. But it is a great example, because that's how I started also, was at FHA loan. And thank goodness there's those government programs that are there to help people become first-time home buyers, because it could really set forth a great set of chain of events that would give you a better and more successful future. So you have a lot of great learning experience that you've had going through this, and I think that you talking about the sweat equity and how important that is. Not every house that you're going to look at is going to be HGTV ready.
right.
And to live through a renovation is not easy by any means. And to do the Timberland from your bedroom to the bathroom and back is I'm sure it's quite a humbling experience.
It was, and it's one of those things you always got to see the light at the end of the tunnel.
Mm-hmm.
It's constantly, okay, how can I take a little bit of time now to improve my life down the road. Delayed gratification is something you see all the time in real estate.
Yeah.
So it was definitely one of those moments where, especially when I had friends of mine living in the city and living it up, going to bars, doing that kind of thing on the
Sure.
weekend. I would on a Friday night put on a podcast about real estate and strip wallpaper, put some lighting. I did all the flooring, painting. I'm sick of painting. But it is one of those things that you look at it and it's like anything. It's a project. You can see it in front of you, and you can take something that's doesn't look great and make it look better. And hey, guess what? You can improve the value of that property by just kind of those cosmetic things. And I think there's a ton of resources out there. YouTube, you can pretty much YouTube anything.
Yes.
You could figure out pretty much anything that could go wrong. And especially if you have, if you're willing to make connections, not only with a loan officer, with a realtor, but also with a plumber, with an electrician.
Important.
As I'm sure Matt knows, as you grow and you have more, more properties, there's going to be more problems. You're going to need those people anyways. So the quicker that you can find those, kind of trades that, especially right now, I feel like is so hard to find.
Yeah.
And you can figure out those little things of, figuring out the basics. Hot water heaters a little bit above maybe your basic change, but everyone knows how to paint. It's not that hard to paint, and it can save you a lot of money.
Yes.
And especially while you're starting out, and then moving forward, you know what it takes to paint. You know the struggles of everything that you'd have to do for something like that. So.
Yeah. So you said you've been there for a year. I can't believe it's been a year already.
Yeah.
It does not seem like that long ago when you told me you closed on the property.
Yeah.
So I'm shocked.
Yeah.
In a good way. So you just moved out. Talk to me a little bit about that.
Yeah. So me and my girlfriend, she's a physician assistant in the city, and it wasn't her goal, or I guess always, to have to put on boots and walk to the shower, believe it or not. And, you know, just with commuting and things like that, we wanted to be a little bit closer into the city. But, you know, it was also one of those things, it made a lot of sense. We were able to take our time and find the right apartment for us because we had something that, you know, we're basically living in rent-free. Not a bad problem to have, taking a little bit more time to find the right apartment.
Sure.
So, yeah, we've moved into the city, and since then, I've basically been able to you know, take the cash flow from my you know, 3 family and be able to kind of live in the city for free, which is you know, really, really cool. There was obviously, again, a lot of hard work that went into that, but it's a cool experience to be able to do that. Makes things a lot easier.
Good for you. So when did you just move? Was it just move it into the city, like within the last couple months, right?
Yeah. We've
Not
been in
even.
there for, right around a month, I think.
Right around a month.
Yeah.
Good. So what's your plan? Are you just going to stick with this one multifamily you have? Are you going to try to buy more? What's next for you as an investor?
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, I mean, I think you know, the plan is definitely to buy more. Right now, I'm trying to kind of refine my search criteria a little bit. You know, a lot of the books, the podcasts, everything that you listen to, it's defining your search criteria as much as you can and really figuring out what works for you as the real estate investor. That's kind of where I'm working right now, but good. I mean, I probably every single day, like most of us at lunchtime, pull up Zillow, pull up Realtor,
yep.
See what's on the market. And you know, I've also I have a personal letter that I keep in my car. Anytime I see like a dilapidated property on the side of the road and I see somebody out there, I might pull over and you know, just chat with them, see, you know, what they're doing. You know, you never know. Always looking for those off-market deals that you can, you know, really make some profit on, and just trying to kind of see what's out there and what works best for me, and not, you know, the cookie cutter real estate investor. So
good for you.
Yeah.
So as we close out, give somebody advice that's looking to get into it, taking that first step. What's something you wish you knew then that you know now, or what's a piece of advice you can give somebody to maybe help them get over the hurdle and just say fuck it and do it?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think, you know, the best piece of advice I could give anyone is just to educate yourself. Educate yourself with podcasts, with YouTube. Find people that are successful in what you are trying to do. You know, Matt's a great example of somebody that I've, you know, connected with, and I've learned more than I would ever learn in any book, podcast, anything.
Thank you.
Because I can ask those questions that, you know, maybe other people are too uncomfortable to ask or don't end up in a book. That's something that I can go and I can ask Matt about. And, you know, networking is another huge portion of it for sure. Yeah. So yeah, I would say network, educate yourself, and don't be shy. I'm, you know, one of those people, I think of myself as a perfectionist, and you're gonna make mistakes. You're not going to know everything when you start off. So just being humble and being able to ask the right questions to the right people is the best advice I could give anyone that's starting out.
And that's solid. Everything you said is just solid advice that I relate to.
Yeah.
So thank you.
Yeah.
Well, I appreciate you coming on today.